Hello guys and welcome back to my channel, and today we are talking about epilepsy and my experiences with the disorder. So for you new here, be sure to like, subscribe and comment. Um thank you very much. And let's get on with what is epilepsy. So people uh confuse the disorder from epilepsy from seizures. So a seizure is like the thing, like the seizing that you do, the activity that you do, um, like during the the act. We'll get into it. But basically, the seizure is basically you can have it one time and never have it in your life. But if you have it twice or more, you will get you will or be diagnosed most likely with epilepsy if you have it for like three. I think three is good. Three seizures. For me, it was every 6 months that I have seizures. I have multiple, so that's why I was diagnosed with epilepsy. So basically, it's a disorder that that affects the brain, and basically, what a seizure is, if you guys don't know, is basically an electrical storm in one part or multiple parts of the brain, depending. So for for us to know what happens during a seizure, let's go through the phases of what happens. Okay, so basically, um, the initial or like the starting point, the warning uh, of of a seizure is called an aura. So an aura is basically most likely known to be said as most likely to be recognized as a focal seizure. So basically, it it's a electrical storm in a part of your brain. So it's basically a focal seizure. But that's what an aura is. That's like the starting point. Um, for me, I stare into the abyss during a during an aura phase. So I just stare into the abyss, right? And then I feel deja vu and I have nausea. And I kind of feel sometimes nauseous. I can't speak for other people, but according to my research, you can feel something, you can hear something, you can see something like sensory. You you can like have what I have, or you can actually smell things or something like that, sensory or physically or motor. So that's what um, an aura phase is basically like the warning. And then you have the ictal phase, is where the actual storm is really kicking in, is where the storm is and then so this is where we do our thing, we like twitch or we like seize. That's what the ictal phase is. It's where the climax of the seizure happens, and then the post-ictal phase is where we get tired, exhausted after the ictal phase, because the ictal phase really tires us out, because a seizure is very tiring to do, or very tiring to like go through, um, because you're like twitching, you're like doing this and stuff, and during a seizure it's very um, taxing for our body. Basically, it's very exhausting for us to do after. So we may like pass out. For me, I passed out. So pass out or like sleep, because the seizure really um, warms us up. So since we know what the phases are, let's talk about my experience with it, because honestly, I can't speak on behalf of um, the the people who have epilepsy, or seizure. I cannot speak on their behalf on what their experiences are. So I'm gonna talk about my experiences. So my first seizure that I have, like the breakthrough, um, what my ictal phase was, I usually like um, puke a lot, and then I can't move my hand is stiff, so I kind of like open it, and then sometimes, or one of my seizures, in fact, I think it was my second one, I can't like, my head um, just moves one direction, and then I cannot move, and then it's very hard for me to like move it straight. So that's um, what I experienced during my ecto phase, and then I cease also like do the shaking and the twitching. So that was my first seizure. It wasn't that uh, it wasn't that severe. Like my very last seizure. We'll get into that because that'll be the climax of this video. But basically, that's what happened, and then that happened multiple times throughout my life. The puking, the seizing, the shaking, the twitching. Um, if you don't know the different types of seizures, I'm gonna give you um, a brief summary of it. So a motor seizure affects your motor skills. So basically, it affects like how you move. Yeah. And then uh, sensory. You may feel something, you may see something, or you may hear something. An autonomic seizure is basically what happens in the autonomic system, like the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. So this may affect like your digestion, heart rate, circulatory. I'm not a doctor, but this is what what I found in the internet, of course, research. So basically, yeah. So it affects like your organ systems basically, and then um, you have what you call the generalized seizures, which are oh, and the focal seizure is basically the aura phase. But okay, let's go for general. Okay, so the generalized seizures are absence, which is like you lose focus on something. So, for example, um, you listen to your teacher talking. You know, you're listening to their lecture, whatever, right? And then you lose focus. You're like daydreaming, but you're not daydreaming. You're actually doing a seizure. So you're listening, and then you like for 5 seconds or like 10 seconds, and then you become aware again, and you're like, what just happened? Can you tell me what the teacher said? So that's basically what an absence seizure is. It's just like daydreaming, but you're actually doing a seizure because you're losing focus on what is like being said or something. So that's what an absence seizure is. Absence seizure is. An atonic seizure is basically you when you like stand, you like flop a bit or limp. A tonic seizure is basically where you like shake and twitch, and you do your thing. A clonic seizure is where you like freeze and you like, you know, I can speak on on other patients or other people who experience these seizures, but on my research, it's basically where you like freeze and then you like drop, and then you do your thing, but you're not. But there's another seizure that's called an tonic clonic seizure, which is basically you like freeze, drop, and then you do the twitching, shaking. So those are like the main generalized seizures that I'm gonna talk about in this video. So since I covered that, let's talk about how to um, treat a person if they have a seizure. Uh, how to like treat them as like a okay. So basically, um, when they're doing their thing, right? They're shaking, they're twitching, right? Basically, you want to uh, lay them down on their side and time it. Okay, time it because it depends how severe the seizure is. So if if the person who is seizing seizes for 20 seconds or like 5 minutes and then it stops, it's fine, it's okay. But if it goes past 5 minutes and they start seizing for like a long time, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, um, call 911 because that's probably a severe case where the person is really doing a severe seizure and you need uh, you need special assistance because it can get very severe and in extreme cases, in very extreme cases, if your body cannot take it and you're like you might die from it. So yeah, it's important to call the emergency services. So I've been teasing this the whole video, but I'm gonna talk about uh, my last seizure where we called 911 and stuff. So basically, I got the aura phase, but okay, let me clarify this. You can get an aura phase, but not get a seizure, or like the actual ictal phase. So sometimes in school, I like stare into the abyss or somewhere, and then I feel like nauseous and like anxious. Sometimes I do that, but I don't get into the ictal phase. This the like the seizure activity storm, but basically, um, think about this. An aura is basically a normal snowstorm, but a seizure is a blizzard. Or aura is a rainstorm, but you can get. But a seizure is like a hurricane. Okay, so I got the aura phase on my last seizure. I got the aura phase. Boom. Then I got the ictal phase. I barf. I did all of that stuff, do the twitching and stuff, and my hand was stiff and all of that. But here's the thing, right? My I can't stop seizing for a while, so I can't stop seizing for like I think it was past 5 minutes. So my parents was like very anxious and panicky, but you're not supposed to panic. Where if you have a person doing their thing. So I was seizing a lot and I was like and it was very bad to the point where um I can't breathe. So to the point where I can't breathe, and my whole body was turning purple or blue, according to my parents. But yeah, that's what happened. So yeah, they called emergency services because the timing was past. It was past 5 minutes or so. My I was I can't breathe, so they had to like do something or like to get me breathing to get oxygen into my body. So they did that. I don't know what they did, but I think like they did like some type of CPR or something like that. So basically like yeah. So they emergency service came. They helped me breathe. They help me throughout like my my experiences, um, my my seizing. So I go to the ambulance, um, go to the hospital, and boom, uh, it was that bad. And I stayed there for I think a week. So it was it to have a seizure. It's very bad to like experience it because of the feeling and the season and the whatever. So that's what happened, and I recovered in the hospital. So that's what my experiences, my last seizure experiences, last seizure experience was like. It was very bad, very 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 and not very um scary. So since that happened, let's talk about the treatment. So since that happened and all of that, it was time for me to have a treatment. So basically, my treatment for my seizure, there's different types of treatment. You can have surgery. You can have, but for me, you can have surgery. You can, there's some dieting that you can do. But for me, specifically, I, I do, I took medication, anti-epileptic medication. So basically, this is like a medication that like calms down the electrical activity in your brain. So that's what I had for at least 16 years of my life. Today, I am trying to discharge the medication because apparently what I've heard, if you're taking anti-epileptic medication, you can't drive. So since that was there was a pro and that was the con, um, I'm trying to discharge my medication. For me to drive. So if you're young and you're experiencing seizures and you need treatment, and like oh yeah, I can have this for the rest of my life. Don't think that because um, you can't drive most of the time. So that's what the medication's negatives are like since you're taking this medication that that makes you drowsy, you can't drive. So I'm trying to discharge it. So if you're young, you're experiencing seizures, and you need medication, take the medication. But um, for let's say if it depends how severe your seizure is, but if you can control your seizures, to an extent, uh, and you really want to drive, um, don't rely on it too much. Talk to your doctor if you can discharge it because if you want to drive, uh, you can't take the medication. So it's a bumpy road. So yeah, I'm trying to discharge it right now. My experience with the non-medication life is okay. I haven't experienced any seizing yet because I've been drinking that medication for like 7 years. 7 years. So um I'm taking the medication for like 7 years. So hopefully I don't get seizures, right? So yeah. So we talked about the types, we talked about the phases, we talked about the treatment. Now let's talk about if you're not having a seizure and you're very prone to it, like if you're like epileptic or something, you have um, what are the ways to prevent seizures. So to prevent seizures from happening, um, no flashing lights. So basically, no anime, or like most anime, but like no action anime, because I I tried to watch anime, but since I have seizures now, like this epilepsy, I can't watch for Naruto, or you know Death Note or something. I can't watch that, or like My Hero Academia. I can't because of the frequent flashing lights. Um, Limit your video game time. So for me, I usually back then I usually play like 5 hours. Now I have to reduce it to 2 or 1 because of my seizures. Don't drink alcohol, or yeah, just avoid alcohol at all costs. Um, because it can cause a seizure. Let's see here. Uh, let's uh, let, let's see more of the symptoms. Hold on, I'm trying to um, look through my notes. Of course, don't abuse drugs because that can also lead to seizures. Limit your stress because, I mean, yeah, limit your stress because if you're very stressed, um, like a very extremely stressed to the point that you're very like, you know, you may have a seizure. So try to limit your stress as much as possible. Meditating can work. Yoga can work. All the mindfulness tools can work for relieving stress. Um, if your seizures are prone from stress. Um, of course, don't smoke. No. Limit your TV watching because or like limit. Don't watch the shows that has flashing lights. Also, um, yeah. So, and limit your and track your diet. Um, because if you're eating too much unhealthy, it may lead to, yes, a seizure. So basically, that's all the things that that's all the basics you need to know about epilepsy. Um, as a patient, and to all the viewers who are watching this who have experienced epilepsy, you may agree with me that it's very tiring, exhausting, and you don't want to experience it ever again. Which is valid, okay? It's not a good experience to experience. It's kind of whoa, but yeah, try to prevent those. Try to limit all of those things, or try to stop all of those things to for your brain activity to not be a hurricane, um, or in fact not start a thunderstorm at all. So yeah, so that's epilepsy. Hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe, like, and share, and hope to see you guys in the next video. I'm EJ, and this is Salamat Production signing out.